Alright everybody, today is International Female Ride. International Females Ride an international whatever. Today is some sort of made up holiday that I feel kind of patronized by, like, here's a day for you. But the flip side of that is it's an excuse to go ride with other women and have fun, but then I'm always the, pessimistic, well, why don't we do this every day then? I don't know. Seems kind of silly to me. And I recently found out through one of my motorcycle renters that there was like this big camp out to celebrate this day, and it was all females. And come across this, do you go right, go to left, or go to right? And it was asking me if I was gonna go, and I was like, oh god, a big camp out with nothing but women tie-dyeing shit in the middle of the woods. It was like not really my fucking vibe. Not gonna lie, but I am so glad that there are people doing that and people flying down here from all over the country to go do that. Sounds like a good time for them, but I feel pressured to make content, so I was like, oh, I should go. And my husband was like, I'll take care of the baby, it'll be fine, it'll be chill, you just go ride, about 70 miles east of Austin. I was like, yeah, it'll be fun. We'll start at the Indian dealership and then ride out to Round Top, Texas, and it'll be great. But after riding Indian motorcycles and stuff, I was like, I just want to fucking go home and drink Negronis in my pajamas and watch Ancient Aliens. I don't really want to fucking go all the way out there just to make a video for my subscribers who probably don't really care if I go to that or not. They want to probably rather hear the truth as to why I'm not going, and it's really simple. I'm fucking busy. I had a, Yaminu video due. That was crunch time on that because it was a longer video, and then my blinker's still on. I had a bunch of shit to do yesterday. I've got cocktail classes. I was like, I don't have the luxurious time to like go to some fucking thing 60 miles away and just for the sake of making a video. I wanted to have fun and relax and ride with a bunch of women, but I don't know, I hung out with my friend Brittany instead. We went to the Indian dealership and I rode an FTR Carbon, and then we got free burrito bowls, and I was like, okay, this is fucking sick. Today is great. I am ready to drink a Negroni in my underwear and watch Ancient Aliens. Because that's what, if that's what biker meetups were doing, like, hey dudes, we're gonna have this drive-in theater and we're gonna watch Tom DeLonge talk about all the UFO shit that he's uncovering in the US government and drink a fucking nice cocktail. I would never question going to that. I would just fucking go and it would be a blast, and that's my vibe. Because not that I think there's a lot of us who ride motorcycles who are just loners. I don't know. Just to go be with a bunch of women is so out of my wheelhouse. It's not something I ever do. I have like 4 very highly filtered, soul filtered female friends that I talk to in my life. Sure, I'd like to get out more, but it's riding out to some antique, part of Texas where people go antiquing. I just don't want to do that. But I think if you do, I think that that's fucking rad, and I think everybody should just do more motorcycle shit in general. But today it was a little too complicated to get the GoPro rolling and get all set up for the demo rides. I hopped on an FTR Carbon, which I have already ridden, but it was just sitting there waiting for somebody to ride it, so how could I say no? And then my friend Brittany hopped on I think it was an Indian Scout Bobber, and she had never been on any kind of bike like that. She rides a Triumph Bonneville, and she is kind of like me, kind of strictly commuter. You try to ride when you can. You don't have a ton of time to go do big long rides, and you don't treat the street like a track. You're just like a big enthusiast. She's one of those people as well. And it was so cool because I was like, you know what? I don't need to ride the FTR Carbon. How stupid is that? Me trying to talk myself out of this fucking rad bike to run. Dumb, right? If it's there for the taking, fucking get on it. The end. And she hopped on it too, and she was nervous, but she was like, I hate saying no. I was like, sick. That's the right attitude. And then we just sat in bumper to bumper Austin traffic on these fun bikes, and we just giggled the whole way, and then ate lunch, and then came back. And I asked her, I'm like, would you be cool if we just talked about it? Because here's what I'm trying, here's the type of content I'm trying to make. No fucking bullshit. This is the beginning I just want to have fun. I want to tell you guys what's on my fucking mind and not try to go force myself to do something that deep down I'm not making time for in between editing videos. And just fucking have fun. Let's rip it and let's get weird. You know, it's Mother's Day when I get to ride my motorcycle to the grocery store. I'm like, babe, can you watch the Babe for like 25 minutes? I'm gonna go get some shit. I gotta go get some diapers and I'll just strap them up to the bike. And that's a fucking great Mother's Day present to me. Also, it's like 110 degrees out though, so I also feel like I'm melting my dick off. Smart peeling's running great. Cleared the codes with the OBD2 reader. It's running right. Got a fresh tire on the back. Although I will say this, after the Alley Cat Scramble, which was essentially like an hour and a half of me just ripping this in first gear because we were winding in and out of alleys and shit, my dash was completely blank. It was still running and it ran great, but there was nothing on the dash. No speedometer, no gas, no anything. So that happened. I'm like, I've got one of those fucking weird smart peelings that just is kind of wonky, and here I am, just a total fucking sucker for it. We filmed a Yammy Noob episode at night the other night, and I had to text Jake. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna be late because my fucking fuel gauge is husk-tarded. So hashtag husk-tarded. Oh yeah, it is too hot to sit like this. I hate people who do that. They just sit there for fucking 20 minutes waiting for, look at this, no one. What are you waiting for? Yeah, I'm gonna park on the sidewalk. Look, a naked guy. So it's International Female Ride Day. Did you feel like a lady? Did you feel like a woman and you were a woman riding? And you know what's funny? I fucking forgot my GoPro. Like I walked in and from our ride and the first thing I saw was my GoPro sitting on the table. I was like, oh, I wouldn't have been able to film our demo ride anyways. Yeah. I forgot the most important part.
Was it the most important
part? No. The most
Whitney.
important part is just fucking having fun.
Yeah, I mean, my uterus feels aglow.
Yeah, suddenly my boobs are
Glow
bigger.
with the day. I feel so alive. Yeah, I did not know it was International Women's Riding Day.
Have you ever heard of that holiday?
No, but I assume everything has a holiday.
I know. It kind of feels, I'm probably going to mention this in the vlog before, but it's like, feels a little patronizing.
Yeah.
Here's a day. But at the same time, it's a good excuse for a bunch of women to go ride, but I kind of want that to be every day, so it's like, I get it, but also don't patronize me sort of thing. Like, fuck a gender day. I
agree. But I will say, yeah, it's totally fucking patronizing, but everything that I have taken advantage of women's blank, and I take advantage of it, it feels like it gives me a foothold into no longer needing just a day for it.
Yes,
like,
sure.
Like, okay, we did something on International Women's Riding Day, which is, first of all, too many words.
Too many words.
Second of all,
call it
patronize.
tit day. How about that? Tit. Here, I'll make it go across the street. Tit day.
But like that, I took advantage of it today. Makes me feel like, oh, I don't need it anymore. It was like just a starter pack.
Right.
I don't know how else to describe it.
Did you have fun at your Indian demo?
Yeah.
What'd you ride, first of all?
Okay, I rode in the Scout Bobber.
The Scout Bobber.
It was a sexy, low to the ground, black beetle looking thing, and I picked it because it looked, Indian bikes are big.
They're big. I thought that there would be more of a variety because I've only ridden the Scout Bobber 2, but no, they were like the fucking cruiser cars.
Yeah, lazy boy bikes.
Lazy boy bikes.
I think of them as dad bikes.
Dad bikes. Mom bikes, dad bikes.
Baby bikes.
Yeah.
Baby bikes for Brit. But so I picked the Bobber because it was the first one I saw that looked like a size I could handle.
And I picked the FTR Carbon. Because
Nerd.
I'm a nerd.
And I wanted you to ride that one.
We were supposed to swap, but then we didn't. They don't give you a lot of time.
Yeah, I only had like 20 minutes to ride around.
There was no route either.
Unspecified. We really had to do some legwork to figure out what we were supposed to be doing there, who to talk to, because you're in a shop like full of Indian motorcycle swag, and so they're like, I don't know if these people are just like fans or if they work here. So we had to talk to a couple of people to figure out where to go.
Yes.
Which was fine. I don't mind gabbing with an individual, but there is nothing worse than not working at a place and having someone walk up to you and be like, excuse me, do you work here? Because that...
I want to ride a motorcycle.
Excuse me.
Can I ride a motorcycle?
That's how I talk when I'm talking to strangers. Excuse me. I try to be as unintimidating as possible and I mispronounce my R's. Excuse me, please.
Can I have a donut? There were donuts in the back. You did steal a donut.
I have a donut in my salad.
But it was cool to see you on a bike that you looked comfortable on. And also, you might have to pause, but a bike to see you looked super comfortable. You told me, Whitney, every time I hang out with you I feel like I'm pushing my limits.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable. Like, we don't have to ride, and then you're like, I don't like to say no. And I was like, yeah, let's not say no. Let's just go ride these motorcycles around for 20 minutes.
I'm always glad when I do. Should I just keep going?
Faffy. It was really cool to see you on a bike that you looked so at home on, and that you were nervous to ride, and because they're big fucking motorcycles, and you just like hopped on it, and then we were giggling like maniacs down the frontage road in a bunch of really hot Texas traffic.
Yeah, it was the pavement. It's too early. I forget how miserable riding in the summer is, but because there's just so much traffic and so many stoplights, and the minute you stop and lose airflow, you're like stripping all your clothes off, helmet off,
just throwing shit
I've ridden home like holding half of my clothes in my helmet because I was just dying. But yeah, I rode the bobber because it was the most me-sized looking one. It was the first one I saw that looked like okay, and it was a pretty color, which is how I mostly choose my bikes.
Me too.
Color and shape. Like I choose my men. And yeah, riding a new bike is always scary for me because I don't want to fuck up someone else's.
Well, then, and they're just letting you onto the highway, like to leave the parking lot is the highway. So you're like, okay.
Yeah, you get on the access road. They did not suggest a route. So we couldn't find some. We had to figure out who to talk to, and then
figure out where to go.
Do we just go? And they're like, I don't even think the guy who was very soft-spoken said yes or no. He was just like, the key is here. And then walked away, and I was like,
flew back into the sky during the rapture.
That was probably the most International Women's Riding Day moment because he wasn't being patronizing to me. He was just like, this is where the key is, this is where the elements of starting a bike are. And then there was no assumption that I did not know what I was doing, which was awesome, even though I did not know what I was doing. I appreciated the space to like get to figure it out without it having to be defensive about it. The bobber is, what do you call it when your feet are up here?
Forward or front mounts?
Front
controls? Forward controls.
Forward control. So
it's your front butt.
So you're like this, and I remember thinking like, this feels like a really, like a yoga pose.
I was like, yeah, it's the flying starfish yoga pose.
The flying starfish, and I thought of it as like witch hitting a tree.
That's another great yoga pose for motorcycle riding.
For chakras, and so it felt cool. I mean, it felt different. It was challenging for me to get on a bike that I'm not comfortable with because I worry about other people so much more than I worry about myself. I worry about dropping it, first of all, and what really helped was when we signed the liability waivers at the beginning of the demo. She goes, the waiver just says that you're responsible for you, we're responsible for the bikes. She said it in such a straightforward manner that it kind of freed me from the stress. I would never have gone to a demo on my own, be like, oh, I'm gonna fuck their shit up. Right. So I felt free of that. And then the next challenge for me to overcome was, okay, let's figure out how to ride a bike that has very different distributed weight different, I mean, yeah, like my stuff on my body's here, so I kept going to brake and then having to like fling my foot forward to brake in time.
I gotta tow it up here, yeah.
Yeah, but it was easy enough to figure it out. It's like riding a bike.
You never forget. Yeah, no, and I told you too, when I did the Harley Davidson Pan America thing, I was parked and I dropped it on a mountain. And I snapped off the brake lever, and they're like, keep it as a memento. Don't worry, can you still ride it? Do you want one of our bikes? You know, they don't care.
Yeah.
Which is liberating. But also, like, I could tell in the FTR Carbon that it was a demo bike. Like, things are rattly. You and I were talking about the suspension and how it sucked. You could feel every bump in the road. You could feel every crevice. You could feel everything. I don't ever feel that on mine.
Yeah.
I'm sure you don't feel that
Absolutely
on yours.
Not.
Yeah.
I felt at one point we were riding on the road, like we were heading back to the dealer, and my teeth were like rattling as we were going over the pavement. I was like, this is bonkers. You are lower to the ground, but that you were experiencing it too on the FTR. So yeah, I think what I took away from that was
they're all set for gigantic heavy dudes is what I got from it. It's just a super
that's
stiff
interesting.
suspension, yeah.
Okay, I hadn't even thought of that. But my thought was like, this is just not how you're supposed to ride this bike.
Yeah,
like,
and the Indian dealership owner came out to talk to us and ask, like, they want more women, like they want to do this more. And you suggested something really cool, which is like, okay, the bobber isn't thriving in a stoplight to stoplight environment. Where am I supposed to ride this? And he was like, whoa, that's a good point. You're supposed to be going 80 on the highway. You know, he's like, that's where it lives. And he said someone else felt that with the Carbon. They're like, oh, it's fine. And he's like, no, you gotta go rip it. And it's like, well, yeah, but you're not telling us that.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just like, oh, go do a loop around the block. And it's like, every bike is gonna be okay like that.
So it's kind of a blend. I feel like if you're in that position and you're wanting people to be riding your bikes, it is a delicate balance between hand-holding and explanation and giving someone that freedom, because when I got on the bike, he wasn't assuming things. I appreciated that, versus we also needed some guidance of what kind of ride do you want? What kind of ride do you look for? You're here to demo. Take this bike here. And that's
especially big cruiser bikes. Don't do a block.
Shit, yeah.
You have it for 10 minutes. You're like, okay, well, I don't want this motorcycle, you know?
Yeah, if we hadn't talked to Jack when he came out, my takeaway would have been like, I don't really, Indians aren't the bike for me. Like,
yeah.
These are just for other people. I don't know how they're enjoying it, because I did not enjoy my ride. I think you asked me on a scale of 1 to 10, how was that? And
she like stood there for 20 seconds with like a bunch of different emotions washing over her face, and I didn't know if she heard me, so I said it again. She's like, I heard you. I'm just thinking. And I was like, oh. And
give me a second, just give the girl. I gave it like a 6, but only because I never get below a 5. Like
I would give the FTR the same thing, because it's not supposed to just go from stoplight to stoplight. And when you're doing slow city driving with that bike, it feels like the front's always just falling over. Where on a sport bike, it's light and you're kind of divey, and that's helpful. But on a Carbon where you're really upright and it's really heavy and you're going to turn and you're just like, oh, I'm falling now.
Bye.
Okay, let me get back on the throttle to get it back up. That was awkward, and you could tell it wants to go faster. It wants to not fucking hang out around the dealership.
And the bobber was for cruising, and I felt that just the posture alone. It's like, oh, you're settling into this ride, and I had fun, kind of like weaving around on the wider streets with it. But yeah, it wasn't meant to be going over like craggly.
Also,
streets.
that part of town, the roads are absolute garbage.
They're really bad.
It's just almost like a war zone. I forgot how bad the roads were.
It's so bad.
There.
We were saying how South Austin just smells like stale cigarettes.
And chicken, and like the chicken, pollo al carbon, like just like, which is a good smell, but the cigarettes is not.
Yeah, no.
Would you go to another demo day?
Yes, I feel like now that I am versed with it, I don't know if I could go to a demo day on a day that wasn't for women. When we rolled up, there was a whole pack
There's a whole gaggle
of babes there,
of
and they were
ladies.
all there to ride together. That is a comfortable space for me. I feel like going to a demo alone, I would have to genuinely be interested in
buying
the bike itself. Like I would be seeking out a bike that I wanted to ride because I wanted to buy it. But part of me also feels guilty for taking things for joyrides, even though I have no intention of a contract binding us later.
Guilt.
Like I feel like I'm taking advantage of some system, and I'm just like, oh no, I'm not interested. That was not a great ride, you know. But like understanding more of what demo days are for.
Yeah.
Like they want you to buy the bike, but also
they want you to talk about their brand. When they do demo days out at CODA, they've got like a big route plan for you, and there's a lot more conversation about the bike, and then it's like a good memory, you know, and you can say like, oh yeah, I rode that for whatever, 20, 30 minutes. And like we were talking about, it's so much fun and important to ride different bikes.
Oh yeah.
Because you get real comfortable on this, and then if you're not constantly hopping on a different bike, then it's kind of tough. You get cemented in your ways.
Yeah, in my experience, because I didn't enjoy my ride very much, even though the bike was beautiful, I was really excited to get back on my bike. made me fall in love with it. She's been giving me some trouble. So it's a blend of multiple things. It's like you need to challenge yourself. You need to push the limits that you're comfortable with. That's the only way to like grow and become more a part of this world of riding motorcycles. It's like ride as many bikes as you can and have someone to do that with. And it helps you like fall in love with the nuances of your own ride, and also makes you just feel like you're more a part of something. I can feel I'm about to begin to ramble. So.
Oh yeah, no.